Speaker, Katie Stewart. She's a senior member of the technical staff with the SIRT division at the Software Engineering Institute, a unit of Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She has more than 15 years experience advising clients in engineering, information technology, and telecommunication industries. Her current research includes information security governance, risk management, and measurement analysis. She holds a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Science in Computer Engineering from North Carolina State University, and has completed the executive education at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. She is also a certified information systems security professional and has served as an adjunct professor. So please help me welcome Katie Stewart.
Thank you. Hi, I'm very excited to be here today. I think I'm your 30-minute banking break. I think all you've talked about is banking today, so this should be a little different. I have about 15, 20 years of experience in national security, both in the intelligence and Department of Defense. My work now, I work for the SIRT program. We're a federally funded research and development center. Our bills are paid by the Department of Defense, specifically the Air Force. We do risk resilience. I look at measurement and analysis and governance as well. Has anyone heard of SIRT? Some of you, okay, that's good. So we were founded in 1988 as an incident response capability. We were stood up in response to the Morris worm. Again, just as incident response. Since then, our mission has grown. Now we look at all the cybersecurity challenges facing our nation. While our mission has grown, we're still really not that big. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about other cybersecurity topics and what SIRT can do. All of our stuff is on our website, so you can look me up on LinkedIn or send me a note, whatever. I'm going to talk today specifically about operational resilience and how to manage cyber risk using operational resilience. I have 3 takeaways for you today. The first one is operational resilience is probably the #1 thing facing your organization today. So this is how you will survive. How you will survive in the event of a cyber attack or an other operational risk that comes to be. The second thing I want to tell you about today is that no one is rich enough to do everything. You all have limited budgets. I'm sure in risk management, you're always asking for more money to do what you need to do. So what I want to give you today is ways to prioritize that and communicate that so that when you go and make your request for more money, you can make a good case. And the third thing I want to talk about today is that operational resilience starts at the asset level. Protecting your crown jewels is the most important thing you can do for your organization. And that's how you can prepare yourself against cyber risk. Okay, so let's start with the definition of resilience. Resilience is kind of a buzzword. It's been around for about a decade. When I go and visit organizations, they don't generally have a clear, concise definition for resilience. This is our definition. It's not sector-specific. But we talk about how resilience is the emergent property of an organization to continue its operations in the event of disruption or stress. I want you to think about a slinky. It's very simple. We all know what a slinky is, right? When you take a slinky and you pull it and you stretch it, you cause it stress, and then when you let go, it comes back to its original shape. That's what resilience is. In the face of disruption or stress, you're able to come back to your original mission, to your original shape, and continue to carry out your business. The most important word in this definition is the second one, emergent. This is an emergent property. Think about health. Resilience is like health. You don't go to the grocery store with $100 and say, I'm going to buy some health off the shelf, right? It's not how it works. There are a series of activities that you can do as an individual that will make you healthy. You can get 8 hours of sleep at night, you can eat well, you can exercise, take your vitamins, go to your checkups, all of that, right? Those activities, by doing those, you become healthy. That does not guarantee that you're not going to get the flu, that you're not going to break a leg, that you're not going to somehow get a disease, right? But what it does mean is that you're in the best shape to take that on when it does happen. You can recover quickly and recover fully if you've done the things prior to getting sick to make yourself healthy. The same is true with resilience. If your organization does a set of resilience practices and processes, puts those in place, practices them, games them out, you will become more resilient. That does not guarantee that you're not going to get a cyber attack. In fact, I can guarantee you will get a cyber attack, right? However, if your processes are in place and you're resilient, you will know how you will respond, and you will respond and get back to doing business quicker. So that's what we mean when we talk about resilience. Does that resonate with everyone? Okay. So I'm going to talk about cyber risk today. Cyber risk is unique. It's a strategic risk and it's an operational risk. Strategically, it can damage your reputation. You can be paying for cleaning up a breach for years, right? I'm not going to talk today about the strategic risk of cyber. I want to focus on the operational risk of cyber. A cyber attack has the ability to cut off your business, right? Immediately. It can take a while to recover from that, but it really has the ability to do you immediate harm. We heard the two gentlemen before me talk about cyber risk as it is, no kidding, a risk to your organization. Cyber risk is ubiquitous. I challenge each one of you to think about one business process that you do today that doesn't have some sort of cyber component. I can't think of one that I do. Anyone? Everything you do today relies on cyber. We're seeing the increase in the interconnectedness between the physical and the cyber domain. Protecting our organizations, locking our doors are now tied to cyber. Our toaster is cyber, right? Everything has a cyber connection. Cyber within the Department of Defense has fundamentally changed the way that we do business. We have munitions now that are being guided by satellite. We have guys who are sitting in shipping containers in Nevada and they're piloting drones. The new battle space is cyber, both offensively and defensively. Cyber has fundamentally changed the way that you do business. We heard that just before. And it's fundamentally changed the way the Department of Defense does business. What we have in common is that when these risks are realized, the consequences are huge. Bringing down the financial sector would be huge. Within the DoD, we're facing money loss and loss of life. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of realized cyber risks within the DoD. All of this is open source. I'm not telling you anything I shouldn't, so please don't report me to whoever you would report me to. But these are just a few examples. So in the top left, that's the Sentinel drone. It's a Lockheed Martin drone, the RQ-170. It's huge. It's got like a 65-foot wingspan. Back in 2011, it was flying a mission on the border of Western Afghanistan. The pilot lost control of it, lost connection to it. A few hours later, Iran popped up and said, hey, we have your drone. They claimed that they hacked into the mission control of the drone and landed it over in Iran. The DoD said that's really not what happened. We just kind of lost control of it, so they haven't publicly admitted that that's what happened. Iran has made at least half a dozen propaganda videos on this, if you've seen them. They've reverse engineered it, they've claimed. Back in December 2011, then President Obama went on TV and he said, hey guys, can we have it back? They said, nope, we're gonna keep it. And I think they're still doing some propaganda around this. So they raised themselves in the world stage technically because of their claimed capability of bringing down this drone. Never mind how much technology we lost, right? So the top right, 2 fighter jets, the one on top is the Chinese J-20, or the Mighty Dragon. The one on the bottom is the F-22. The US Air Force F-22. 2016, China debuted the J-20 at an air show. It was the first time we actually got a real good picture of it, a real good look at it. The first thing that people noticed was, wow, it looks kind of like the F-22. Back in 2011, Lockheed Martin, the prime on the F-22, reported a Chinese state-sponsored hack in which they claimed that CUI, or controlled unclassified information, specifically around the F-22, the F-35, and the radar suites in both jets, was possibly compromised. Maybe so. You may have heard some, in the past couple years, Navy ship collisions all happening within foreign ports. The DoD has come out and said this was a training mishap, or people were overloaded, but there's been speculation in open source that possibly were they hacked? Were these boats hacked and causing these collisions? Just last month, Airbus, one of the large defense industrial base contractors, come out and said that they were also hacked, believed to be by China. And my last example, it's my favorite example because I actually have a pack of boys at home that love drones, and I assure you pack is the right way to describe them. But the company DJI, it's a Chinese-based drone manufacturer. So if you were to go on Amazon, I went on Amazon a few weeks ago, looked them up, the top 3 best-selling drones are DJI drones. So DTRA, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, released a memo, alert, a couple years back, saying that DJI drones, by default, okay, out of the box by default, when they connect to Wi-Fi, they upload all the images that they have taken back to DJI headquarters in China. DJI said, nope, that's not happening. It's definitely not happening. I think China actually made a statement, nope, not happening. The hypothesis being, what an easy way to map US infrastructure and make a profit, right? So these are just some examples of how the DoD is facing, what types of cyber threats the DoD is facing. And these have real consequences, right? Same within your organization. Okay, so when we talk about cyber risk, who is the enemy? You cannot have a cybersecurity brief without a Russian flag. So there's my Russian flag, right? So you have your state actors, the ones I mentioned before. You have Russia. You have our traditional adversaries who are after us. They're now after us in cyberspace, right? Then you have your non-state actors, the big hacking groups like Anonymous, all the way down to like the 14-year-old kid in his basement in the hoodie and the FBI knocks at the door, right? Those are all threats. They're all enemies, right? And then you have the disgruntled employee. Maybe you fired a guy, he's mad, and he wants to do your organization harm. Those are your traditional enemies, right, when you think about cyber risk. But what about your CEO? What about your business development guy who's going overseas and taking his machines with him? What about your repairman? You know, he's came in to fix the escalator, and he has access to your switch box. The insider threat is real, and it's scary. people that you have given access to can do real harm to your organization. Over a quarter of cyber attacks are started by an insider, somebody who you have let in the front door with the welcome mat, right? And you've given them access to your network. Of those 25%, 30% are unintentional. Things like clicking on a link in an email, don't do that. Putting a USB drive in your computer, downloading rogue software. All these things can do you great harm, and the risk is real. The other thing to consider is third-party risk, your vendors, your suppliers. You have SLAs in place, but do you really understand the risk that they're bringing to your organization? The majority of companies say they do not have good visibility into their third-party risk. Within the financial services sector, that number is much higher. And I don't think it's because you guys are worse. I think it's because you're smarter. I think it's because you know what you don't know. Third-party risk and insider threat are two huge things that you need to consider. Okay, one more story, and then we'll talk boring stuff. Okay, this is Colvis. Seems like a nice guy, right? Maybe you'd like to go hang out with him, I don't know. Colvis is famous. The FBI made him famous. Colvis had a hand in coining the term business email compromise. So Colvis was in the United States on a student visa. He was also part of a Nigerian crime organization. He landed in Texas, and he decided to target mid-level oil and gas companies. So this is what Colvis did. He was able to go onto a website and get the contact information for the CEO and the CEO's admin, the email addresses, right? He sent a spoof email. He spoofed himself. He sent a pretend email acting like he was the CEO to the admin. And this is what the email said. Hi, can you please transfer $3 million for the acquisition of this company? Thank you, right? He sent it on a Friday afternoon because he knew this was a time when these transactions generally took place. Here was his last sentence. Thank you. I will be out of pocket coaching my daughter's soccer tournament for the weekend. Colvis had gone onto the CEO's Facebook page and found out that he was supposed to coach his daughter's soccer tournament that afternoon. And so he put that line in the bottom of the email. The admin did her job. She completed the request, didn't contact him because he was going to be at his daughter's soccer tournament, right? They did not find out that this was a bogus request until the afternoon on Monday. Colvis got about, I think, $300K was his cut after he paid off everybody above him. The FBI was able to track him down, and I believe he's serving time still in a Texas prison. But so this is real, right? This is how our adversaries are thinking. And most of us would have fallen for that, right? That seems like a legitimate thing. Okay, so what can you do about it? This is the SIRT top 11. I have no idea why we couldn't have capped it at 10, but here we are. So this is our top 10 plus 1. These are the cyber hygiene, kind of your ticket to entry with a good cybersecurity program. There should be no surprises on this. Training and awareness, incident response, monitoring malware exposure, nothing on here should be a surprise. I'd like to focus on the first two because these are key in resilience management. Understanding your services and products, and then their supporting assets. So think about your mission. What is your mission? How do you serve your customers? Those are your key services. You have a ton of business processes, and I'm not saying they're not important, but there are a select few that are critical in achieving your mission. If payroll goes down, you're not going to immediately cease operations. You will eventually, because people want to get paid, but that's maybe not critical to achieving your mission. So think about the business processes that are key, your critical services. From there, map out the business processes and then the assets that support them. What are the people? Who are the people, the technology, the facilities, and the information that's required to achieve those business processes to meet your mission? This is what I'm talking about visually, right? This is the most important thing you can do in resilience management, and it is hard. Organizations struggle with this every day. How can you figure out what are our critical assets to support our services? And doing this mapping is how you do it, right? Let's talk through an example. So this is a realized cyber risk that's not technical. It was a process failure. Sorensen Communications is a Utah-based telecommunications company. One of their key missions is to provide 911 services to the deaf and voice disabled. So those that cannot pick up the phone to dial 911, they would go onto this video relay system that they housed and reach emergency services. In June of 2017, Sorensen Communication forgot to renew their domain name for this video relay system. So this 911 service went down for 3 days. For 3 whole days, the residents of Utah who were deaf or voice disabled could not dial 911. So this was a real life or death consequence, right? The FCC investigated. I think they slapped them a $3 million fine because this was deemed to be completely preventable. And I'm sure that they've learned their lesson. And now that there's a really good process in place for their domain renewals. So if we look at this visually, had Sorensen Communications, and I don't want to pick on them because it's happened to, Google forgot to renew their domain name, but had they done this analysis and realized that this technology, this domain name, was critical to meeting their mission, they would have put the controls around it to sustain it, right? So doing this is how you do operational resilience. Identifying which assets you need to protect and sustain. Assets derive their value from the importance of meeting the mission. Does not matter what you paid for the asset, doesn't matter what it's worth. Its value is determined by how it supports you in meeting your mission. So the management challenge of operational resilience is finding that balance between protection and sustainment activities. Protection activities limit an asset's exposure to disruption. In sustainment, it's like your business continuity, keeping them productive during exposure. So again, I'm going to say it one more time. Assets derive their value in the importance of meeting the mission. So when you're having these conversations around risk and resilience management and trying to make the justification on budget and where to spend your dollar, think about this. What is most important to protect? And that should provide some sort of clarity in how you do prioritization. Okay, so I'm going to give a plug for the SIRT resilience management model. This is free for download. It's all on our website, but this is a common lexicon for you to approach resilience management. It's broken up into 26 process areas. You can see them up here. And it's considered to be the convergence of IT operations, disaster recovery, and business continuity. So these are the things I was talking about in the beginning to make your organization resilient. These are the things I would do if I wanted to be healthy, right? So within each of these process areas, we give specific goals, which are things that you should do. And then under the specific goals, there are specific practices. So it's the how-tos. There's also, it's an over 1,000-page book. I'm embarrassed to say that I have read it front to back. There's a lot there. But if you are particularly interested in improving your asset management, for example, you could go to the SIRT RMM and look up that. The other thing the SIRT RMM is, it's a maturity model, similar to CMMI. Anybody familiar with CMMI? Okay. So a maturity model looks at how well you can institutionalize your process. So there's the what to do, and then it's the how to make it stick. So it looks at things like, have you documented your process, right? Are you measuring it? Are you reporting its performance? Are you modifying it and updating it as it needs to be updated? Are you sharing it across the organization? These are the things that will make you more resilient, because a managed process produces repeatable output and predictable output, right? So in the face of disruption, you know how you will perform. So again, operational resilience looks at what to do. So these are the 26 process areas. And then how to make it stick. So standardizing it in the organization, practicing it, institutionalizing it. Operational resilience is important. It's the #1 thing facing your organization. It may not make your strategic charts, but I guarantee you that survival is your #1 priority, right? You're never going to be rich enough to do everything. You're going to face attacks. You're going to face disruption. Preparing yourself in the best way possible by getting a good operational resilience program in place is how you will survive. And that's done through for going down to the asset level. Understanding your assets, the interconnectedness between those, your processes, and your services. That's my talk for today. I'd be happy to take questions. I think I have 3 minutes. But if you're interested in any other topics that SIRT does, please let me know. You can look me up on LinkedIn. You can send me a note. You can catch me after this. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. There are a lot of smart people at SIRT, a lot smarter than me, and I'd be happy to make introductions. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Katie. We are now going to be taking a break in the exhibit hall, and our final set of breakouts start at 3:45, and then after that we'll have our closing night reception. So please make your way to the exhibit hall for some snacks, and have a great afternoon.
Mama's little baby loves short.